Okay, so I'm gonna do a really quick video because I'm not gonna type all of this out. That's the truth. Laziness. Here's what I'm gonna say. So I see most people, when they're believing one way, they're sharing the same memes, right? It's just what happens. Welcome to meme culture. So they're sharing the same memes with the same statements and believing that they can tell a story around a snippet of conversation that took place. So the first thing that comes up for me in that is how many of my conversations, if somebody were to have recorded that, even public conversation, even videos that I've made, that if you grabbed a little snapshot of it, you could turn it into whatever you wanted to turn it into. That's just the truth, right? And so with this one right now that a friend is dialoguing with me about. So what I'm going to say also as a premise to this is you're going to believe what you want to believe, period. And for the human brain to step out of its own bias, like, it is hard work to look at our bias, to look at our filters, to look at all of that. And a lot of people will proclaim, oh, I look at it from this neutral space. And yet they don't. And it's very obvious that they don't because of how they share, right? What they share. And I know that I too, right? So like the thing that I'm solid on right now is I'm not letting you like, I don't have a story around this, right? Like, I don't really have a story one way or another. Me and Charlie Kirk didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I could go off on a tangent about, the way he pontificates and the way that he also did not step in to dialogue with people more so than to pontificate, right? And to tell people why he believed what he believes. It was never open dialogue of, and I shouldn't say never, but very rarely would it be dialogue that he was really truly listening to hear the other person. Because he was solid and passionate on his stances, which most of us have that, right? So that is so important to understand that, like, literally, as I go to say things, I look for that cognitive dissonance. I look for that, like, nope, I'm not changing my views on that. And then I pay a lot of attention to it, and I really kind of dissect it, probably overly look at it. And this is a prime example, right? So the statement that he made about the Second Amendment and what comes along with the Second Amendment is, unfortunately, gun deaths, right? And then he made the comparison to driving a car, right? The fact that we're able to drive, right? The fact that I'm able to be behind the wheel of this car right now, deaths will occur because of my driving a vehicle. And I get that is very hard to, I don't even know if it's really hard to look at and be like, yeah, the right for me to drive exists. The right for us to drive exists. And because of that right, there's going to be lives lost, right? So I just said that. So now let's say on my way home, I die in a car wreck, right? Does that, I just can't draw that comparison, right? Where it's like, no, this right exists. And because this right exists, this, right A exists. So the consequence of it is deaths. And that's terrible. It's terrible how many children die in car wrecks. It's terrible how many, it is part of it. And the thing that is so wild for me right now is watching the internal dialogue, because there was a time in my life that if someone made that comparison, it would literally, I could feel my brain exploding. It would make me so angry. How can they compare? The purpose of a gun is to remove the life from something. The purpose of a car is to get you from A to B. I can hear all my own talking points currently swirling around in my brain, which makes me really uncomfortable to even be having this conversation. But the truth of the matter is, is I get it. I don't know. I mean, obviously, because I believed a certain way for so long and I existed in an echo chamber that constantly fed it back to me, that it is currently in my constitution. How can you compare these two things? I can hear that happening inside of me because that's my bias, right? That's what the bias is. I can see it. I see you. I just don't know that I agree with you anymore because I also can hear this other side that's like, no, really, it's actually a decent comparison. Yeah, so do we want the government to come in and really super over-regulate cars? Oh, here comes another one. Okay, well, we're asking for sensible gun legislation that, I mean, you have to have a license to drive. You have to have a license, so like, trust me, they exist inside of me, right? But then what comes up for me is like, okay, I hear you. So registration of things, maybe, I mean, can we own whatever kind of car we want? I think so. I think we can own race cars. I don't really know, but we can own a car that could go 200 miles an hour and drive it down the freeway as fast as we choose to, right? So do we start regulating what kind of cars that we can own? I don't know. I'm not one to talk about giving the government more power. So I'm not the one to have this discussion with on that matter, right? Because that is my own bias. And I am trying to step out of, I am currently in the process of trying to stop affirm how corrupt our government is and how corrupt politicians are and how broken the system is and all of these things, because they sure are manifesting, right? And one of my biggest things that I always talk about is don't feed your energy to things that you don't want to manifest. And so I am trying right now to shift that belief in me. It's not working currently, but all of that to say, I didn't want to write this back. This person has his mind made up. Yeah, I can tell. I've watched him jump into a handful of discussions for the last few days. I've stayed out of it because it's such a fucking waste of time. It's such a waste of time, right? If somebody honestly wants to step in and have, like, sit down, let's have a conversation about this. I want to hear you. All day long I would do that, right? And I do feel like I'm in a space of like, okay, I get it. Because I'm done being married to beliefs. I'm done being so set on my beliefs. I existed in that realm for so long, and there's so much suffering in it, and there's so much just contraction and just that exists in that. And again, I'm going to double down and say, until we can find understanding, until we can love the people that we disagree with and allow them to have their opinions, this is it. This is what we're in. We're just in this perpetuating cycle of what the fuck. And so it's really important for us to step up and be the change that we want to see, which is really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. Some people won't even be able to do it, right? Because they definitely are not as nonpartisan as they think they are. They definitely are married to their beliefs in a way that they can't love someone who disagrees with them. And I can hear it. Oh, but that's, anyways, I'm not even going to do it. I'm not going to do the rude voice. I'm not going to do the rude talking points. I'm just going to say, I love you. I love all my friends. I love random strangers. I love people I don't even know. I love people I've never even met. That's just where I exist. That's my constitution, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And it's what allows me to call bullshit on myself. And that is all I'm trying to say to people is make sure you're calling bullshit on yourself. Make sure, and truthfully, because so many of you are like, well, I look in the mirror. And it's exhausting. And you can tell that you don't, because you can tell just the talking points that you continue to repeat and the memes you continue to share. So, I send everybody love. If you've made it this far in these ramblings, just know that the only way we're getting out of this is to love each other. I just did another video about loving the thems in your life, who you have designated as the people in the us versus them. Who are the thems? Yeah, go touch grass.